Good. I would like to call the recommending meeting to order. Are we in compliance with the opening law?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Do we need to do a roll call to make sure that
Yes, please.
all are here?
Yes. Councilman Barlow?
Present.
Councilman Anthony?
Here.
Councilman Coffin?
Here.
Thank you. We have one.
Thank you so very much. Your first line item of business is abeyance item number 2014-39 for possible action establishes licensing requirements and regulations as well as updated zoning regulations pertaining to short-term rental. This is text 51291. This is sponsored by Councilwoman Lois Tarkanian. Before staff comes forward with to discuss the bill, I do have a number of questions that I would like to ask before we get started, and that is about a month and a half, 2 months back, there was a request from this body that not only this bill, but I understand a future bill that is coming be obeyed in order that the two of them would have landed at this recommending body so that we could have heard both bills collectively. Today, that is not the case, right? Whereas one bill, according to the agenda on Wednesday, will be read into the record and forwarded to a recommending meeting on, is it the 19th or the 18th? 18th. And the bill that is before us today will contingent on how we move this bill forward will land on the city council agenda on the 20th.
Correct.
So would you please explain to me how the request that we made, that this body made, the two bills did not arrive here today so that we could have discussed them according to what we would have preferred originally.
Beverly Bridges, City Clerk. When this particular bill first came before recommending, the new bill hadn't been talked about, I believe, or even thought about coming forward to council. So we held this in abeyance for approximately 60 days to try to give the attorney's office time to get the new bill drafted and get it on the council meeting so we could have it read for the record and refer to recommending. So when we held this, when we picked today's date, hoping that the attorney's office would have the new bill ready on the last city council meeting so it could be read for the record and referred to today's recommending. That did not happen. So the new bill is on Wednesday's city council meeting for August 6th. It will be read for the record and referred to August 18th to be heard by this body. So if you need both bills heard together, then we would need to hold this one in advance to August 18th so it will come forward on the agenda at the same time the new bill comes forward.
Okay. So in addition to that, and walk with me, because I'm trying to systematically see how this aligns, if it does or if it does not. If we were to move this out of committee today, it will arrive on the city council agenda on the 20th.
It can. It doesn't have to.
It can. It doesn't have to.
You can hold it to be heard by the city council till the next bill shows up and gets ready for adoption.
Okay. As far as the city council agenda, it won't return to recommending.
Correct.
And so therefore on the 18th, when the new bill is heard, because it's being read for the record this coming Wednesday, and the new bill will basically hit the August 18th recommending.
Correct.
And would that not fall on the 20th for discussion or the following city council meeting in September?
We have two sections on the recommending committee on city council. We have the area where bills are heard at a later meeting, and then we have the bills eligible for adoption. For them to end up on the section for eligible for adoption, they have to be published at least 10 days prior to that. So this bill today has not been published. Obviously, the bill being read Wednesday will not be published. So we can hear this bill today. You can move it out until the first meeting of September, council meeting for adoption. You can read the bill on 8/6. You can refer to the 8/18 recommending committee, and it would end up falling on that first meeting of September for adoption at the same time this one would, because we would have to publish them both in order to get them to that meeting to be heard.
Okay, and at what point do the two bills merge and become one bill?
As soon as they're published, I have to put them on the same meeting to be adopted. That would be the first one of September.
So help me understand, what is it that you recommend to this body?
Now, which one do you want me to have fast-tracked? If you fast-track the bill from Wednesday, and I publish this bill at the same time, you could adopt them on August the 20th. If you want to move this one out, clear the one on the 18th, and go through the regular cycle, they would both end up for adoption on the first council meeting of September.
Because what I don't want to do is basically disconnect what the sponsor of the bill is trying to accomplish as far as keeping everything on track, because there's issues that are taking place that need to be remedied in short order. However, there's a technical disconnect at the same time, because we were actually to hear both bills today, and we don't have that option to do that. So in good faith, I'm trying to see how we can balance the two as far as getting them on the same track, so that we can accomplish, if you will, both sides of the divide.
There's two options.
Okay.
The easiest option to get both bills, hear them together, publish them together, end up on the same council meeting together, is to obey this one today to August 18th.
Okay.
Then you hear both bills at the same time, you publish both bills at the same time, and they both roll up to the city council meeting at the same time.
And what date is that?
It's 9, Gary, what's the first
First
council
Wednesday.
meeting in September?
September 3rd.
3rd.
September 3rd.
September 3rd. The other option is you can hear this bill today. I hold off the publication. You hear the next bill on August 18th. After the 18th, I publish both bills, and they both end up on September the 3rd.
Okay.
It's just, if you want to hear the bills together, then we have no option but holding until the 18th. Otherwise, you have public hearings at 2 different times.
Okay. So those are the questions that I want to get out front, so that we can set up the framework for the discussion with the board. So at this time, I will ask if there's anyone from the public wishing to speak on this item, please come forward, state your name for the record. Thank you, Bev.
You're welcome.
Good morning. Jay Brown, 520 South 4th Street. One thing I'd like to, wait. Let me also add to what the clerk said and what you're referring to, Mr. Chairman. If you take a look at the backup material for item 53, which is the introduction to the related ordinance we're talking about,
You're referencing the city council agenda.
of August 6th, yes.
Correct.
It says purpose background. Okay, it says this bill intended to complement the proposed licensing and zoning regulations pertaining to short-term residential rentals. Okay, it's even in the backup. It talks about there being related. If this matter was already set, the one we're talking about today, short-term rentals for Wednesday, okay, to be heard, I would understand. I can't say rush because this has been delayed 60 days already, but I could understand wanting to pursue this today. But as you've heard from your clerk, there's no way this is going to be on the August 6th agenda. If the city attorney's office wants, they can both be heard on the 20th. They can both be heard on September 3rd. That's the only time they can be heard. This cannot be heard before the 20th, this one being today's short-term rental, and the one that's on August 6th can't be. So I don't see the prejudice to holding them, obeying them in the way that the city clerk has suggested. So that's what we respectfully request.
I don't quite understand your request.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'll clarify it. We'd like to have this matter obeyed until the 16th of August, 18th of August, when you're going to hear on the recommending committee the the related item that is being introduced on the August 6th City Council agenda.
That's
Okay?
exactly what you said.
That's exactly right. And that's what we'd like to see happen. And we don't see, that will not delay the passage of this one day, because this cannot be heard on August 6th, because it's not noticed on August 6th.
But also the city clerk stated that we could hear this today, move it out, and basically not set a date, because it'll still catch up, and nothing will come before city council until September 3rd.
Legally, you're absolutely correct. Again, it's our wish. I don't mean to beat it to death, okay? It's our wish that since they are
So in other words,
related.
There's two ways to get there.
That's
Two ways
right.
to get there. And I don't know, there may be people in the audience that may not be able to come back again to speak, that may want to speak on the item, which will give them the opportunity to do that. But I'm glad that the city clerk gave us two options to get to merging the two, which basically is a win-win for us, because that was the request initially, because we were to have both items before us as it relates to today. So,
And maybe, Mr. Chairman, what you could do is, if that's the case, is to listen to testimony, anybody you hear today, and maybe not make a decision until you hear the other related item on the 18th as well.
well, we appreciate that.
I'm sure you do.
Of course, this thing has been delayed now 10 months since I looked at the background, and it actually was considered before last November. I mean, I'm thinking back and looking at the calendar. It's been a long time coming. Councilwoman Tarkanian's had a lot of delays on this thing. And the only reason I would support a delay it is because of the intent of the committee, and I guess I've forgotten, but the chair had directed the staff, and we agreed that all of this had to come together at once.
Right.
Right.
And I don't know how it didn't, but I suspect we had other
Well,
things to do.
Well, the city clerk mentioned that
Yeah.
the attorney's office was at fault. She rolled them under the bus. She was at fault.
But I noticed that Val was looking down his notes. That wasn't his fault. Just thinking that that's the only way I would support the delay is if it all came back together, because it already had been predetermined
Yeah,
that
we
it
were
should
actually
be.
supposed to have it here anyway.
We're in complete accord.
Yeah, but I do want to hear some testimony, because I want to make sure, because I knew there were differences. There were kinds of people, there's lots of shades of gray here.
Yes.
And the people that provide this kind of service. And I want to make sure I get the right side here. There's some that are better than others, and some that are, well, there's no white sheep anywhere in the world, but surely we have some people that are not as egregious offenders of the privacy of the neighborhoods as others are.
Australia has a lot of white sheep.
And I feel like one of them shorn right now, because I've always loved it. One that's always been shorn. Okay, so that was my trouble about it having another delay, but on the other hand, it is something that we may have committed to asking for and just didn't get delivered, so. I'm willing to hear all the testimony you
Yeah,
want.
so. Anyone else wishing to speak on this item, so please state your name.
My name's Annette Fiala, and I just want to apologize. I haven't slept for about 30 hours. I put 13 of my family members on a plane at 4 o'clock, and because this did not get continued, I'm going to go join them tonight for a family vacation. Anyway, I'm just going to read because I need to. Okay, short-term residential rentals. Times are evolving in the economy and the tourist industry in the entertainment capital of the world, Las Vegas. There is now more than ever the demand for alternative housing to the traditional hotel room. Celebrities, professional athletes, conventioneers, families, sports teams of all ages, discreet individuals, the film industry, and numerous groups request and expect privacy and alternative housing to the hotel room. Short-term residential rentals provide a solution to the ever-increasing demand in the Las Vegas hospitality industry. These clients represent a sizable portion of the market and demand private accommodations. Further, with the feature film industry coming to Vegas and the highly anticipated arenas being built here, out-of-town guests are requiring accommodations where their entire entourage can stay together in one place. Hotel rooms or even 2 or 3 bedroom suites simply cannot fill these needs. The short-term rental houses fulfill these needs. There's an economic benefit to the city of Las Vegas between licensing fees, taxes, jobs, increased home values, and a greater share of the tourist market that Las Vegas previously was unable to capture. The challenge here is short-term rental houses are being abused by partiers due to a lack of regulations or ordinances specifically addressing this issue with no consequences. Our Vegas Vacation Rental Association has united to combat the party houses and owners or managers that do not conduct business in a professional manner in accordance with best practices for the industry. We have worked with Karen Duddleson in business licensing to adopt a new and more comprehensive ordinance that would be enforceable and encourage full reporting. We also proposed the loud and unruly conduct ordinance, similar to the one adopted by the city of Newport Beach, California, who had similar problems on a much larger scale. After they enacted this ordinance, their problems are almost non-existent. Currently, Las Vegas police have no authority or remedy to shut down or disband a party house. We have given teeth to the ordinance. We advocate for a strict violation and fine schedule similar to the one Newport Beach adopted, wherein the police are allowed to disband the party and issue a notice of violation. The notice of violation results in a $250 fine to each person in attendance and subsequent fines of $500 for additional offenses. In Newport Beach, the police can force everyone to leave, and the property lease automatically terminates with no refund. We have several property owners in the city who have adopted this language in their leases. Not only do we support this provision, but we support an even stricter fine schedule. We believe adopting the proposed amendment to the city's current nuisance ordinance, along with the changes listed below, would resolve the city's party house problem and short-term rental reporting issues. So right now, the nuisance ordinance that we are not allowed to discuss in here would resolve a lot of those problems. One, we would like to remove the special use permit on homes of 5 bedrooms or more. Given the teeth in the proposed nuisance ordinance, which we cannot discuss, all rental homes, regardless of number of rooms, would be held equally accountable. So if you had a 2-bedroom, a 4-bedroom, an 8-bedroom, or a 10-bedroom home, the nuisance ordinance would take care of any kind of party house. So it doesn't. So right now, the 5-bedroom homes are getting the bulk of the blame for a party house. So it doesn't matter what size house it is. Right now, you're requiring a special use permit on 5 bedrooms or more, and that would effectively obliterate this segment of the short-term rental market, because I think the requirements are 1,000 feet, and to send out notices to homes that are probably 2 or 3 communities away from the intended short-term rental, I cannot see that everyone would agree to do that. We advocate returning to the previous occupancy limits, 2 per studio, plus 2 guests per each additional bedroom. Right now, you guys, in the new ordinance, there's a limit of 12 people per house, even if it's an 8 or 10-bedroom house, which that defeats the whole purpose of having your sports teams and families to try to be together for family reunions. Larger houses are able to accommodate the celebrity clientele, professional athletes, amateur sports teams, and family reunions that small houses and hotels are unable to accommodate. Larger houses will bring in greater room tax and usually have a greater number of rentals per year. The second item that we are looking at mostly in the proposed ordinance is removal of the licensed real estate property manager requirement. Short-term rentals are economically unfeasible for realtors, and further, short-term rentals do not fit into their business model. A typical short-term lease is between $500 and $1,000, and there is approximately a 5 to 10% margin for commissions. Each rental takes approximately 15 to 20 hours of time through completion. A realtor would have to advertise the properties at their expense, locate clients, show the property, sell the property to the client, act as a middleman between the property owner and lessee to negotiate a price, obtain a contract signature, accept and verify the contract funds, deposit them into a trust account, check the clients into and out of the property, be available for maintenance and repairs, be available 24 hours a day based upon the new ordinance in the event of a disturbance within an hour's notice, and finally transfer the money from the trust account to the property owner. A $50 to $100 commission does not justify this work. We are unaware of any realtors willing to accept and diligently work for this type of business given the commission structure. There is no city or municipality that requires a licensed real estate property manager for short-term rentals in the United States. We have researched this proposed requirement with the local real estate offices, and all have stated they do not want this business. Finally, to ease registration, we encourage full reporting. We suggest annual fees per house, regardless of whether they are a property owner or a manager. Right now, a property owner is required to pay a fee for each rental, and that means going down to the county, going down to the city and paying that. And the city is closed on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, And most people coming to Vegas, they decide at the last minute, I'm going to come to Vegas, and they call someone, and so people, a property owner or manager would not be able to obtain that kind of fee. Additional recommendations, we would like to see online registration for payments. We'd like to see a training class offered for owners and managers to be able to get licensed and to ensure that everyone knows the rules and regulations. And we would also suggest that the city ask for your business license on all advertising so that code enforcement can identify licensed properties. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, John Palmer from Las Vegas Retreats, co-owner. Wow, I've told this story a lot of times. I've sat in front of the council and basically explained our position over and over and over. We've been in business for 10 years, over 10 years. We've been in the vacation rental business in Las Vegas. I came here to start the business. I came here because I was a vacation renter in one of the homes in Green Valley and fell in love with the area and decided to move here and open a vacation rental business. We've run it successfully for 10 years now. In that time, we've not been a problem causer. We've been forward-thinking and tried to cooperate with the county and the city in creating laws that actually work and will, regulations that can actually be enforced. I don't want to say it again, but I guess I have to. My company wouldn't exist if it weren't for vacation rentals, and the people that I employ depend on their income from this business and have for a very long time now. I've never been a real estate agent. I've never been a licensed property manager, and I don't know anybody in my business who is. But I do know that one of the reasons I'm here today is because of someone who is. He's a licensed property manager. He's a licensed real estate broker. And is one of the biggest problem causers in the city. And here we are, not causing a problem, not having those licenses, and I'm wondering why that would even be on you, why that would even be significant to you. No one's come and talked to us about who's really staying in these homes. No one has even bothered to ask us, what does the market really look like versus what the people who are afraid of the market think it looks like. We don't have partiers in our homes. We don't get more partiers in 10-bedroom or in 5-bedroom homes than we do in 3-bedroom homes. That's not who we rent to. Our guests are families. Our guests are business people. Typical makeup of a 5-bedroom renter is 5 business people staying 1 person per bedroom. They're here for CES or something like that. Or it's a family where the mom and dad are in the master bedroom, grandma and grandpa are in one of the other bedrooms, and then the kids are in the remaining 3. And they're here doing criminal acts like swimming in the pool and watching television, so forth and so on, just like the neighbors. That's who our business is. And we're asking you to cooperate with us as a business and as an association. We know the market better than anybody who's afraid of it. We know who's coming. We know what's happening in the world. We know how lodging, vacation rental lodging is changing, how the world is changing because of the internet, things like VRBO and HomeAway. People expect this wherever they go. In any resort community in the world, they expect to be able to rent a home near to where all the excitement is. They aren't going to bother to see if that home is licensed. They aren't going to bother to see whether or not the person who's renting it to them is in compliance. They expect to be able to do it. If you make it harder for us to comply by instituting draconian regulations that have nothing to do with our business, then what you do is you force the right people out of business and you leave everybody else there to service the market. You make us look bad, you make Las Vegas look bad. We're trying to make Las Vegas look good, and we've been doing that for 10 years now. And we want your cooperation in that. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Linda Logan, Las Vegas Retreats, and just here to support my team.
Yes, ma'am.
Jacqueline Raisha Curl, Supervisor of Environmental Health with the Southern Nevada Health District. There was one concern on the bill. It's on 6.75.080, page 4. Line 7.
You said 1 7?
Line 7
Oh, line 7.
on page 4.
6.75.
75.080.
Gotcha.
It says no person shall engage in a business operating a short-term residential rental unit without first obtaining and thereafter maintaining a valid unexpired public accommodations permit from the health district.
Yes.
We don't currently have any regulations that would empower us to regulate residential rentals, nor do we intend to go that direction. Our role would be as an advisory level if the city code enforcement or any other jurisdictional entity who would have jurisdiction to regulate these requested our input, requested our assistance, we would be happy to go in and provide our professional recommendations. But especially when you're dealing with homes that have pools and things like that, the state law would not, they're not built to a standard that we could regulate.
So, any additional comments in relation to?
We would also be involved in any, if there were an illness investigation related to a pool, related to like a Legionella case or something like that, that would be in the home, that would be it.
That would be for any residential property, not just.
No, we would not, we don't go to regular residences to investigate a Legionella case, for example, but we do investigate those in our public accommodations. That would be something that if we were notified of it,
Correct.
and were made aware that it was a residential
Correct.
rental, we would get involved in that.
But in the residential rental, you would?
We would, if requested by the city to assist.
Okay. But what is the step that you would take currently as far as the homes in question today?
Nothing at this point.
Okay. So the question that I have for you, Don, 6.75.808, and having heard from the Southern Nevada Health District, do we delete or strike this from the ordinance? Or there's no regulatory action that can be taken?
We can do that. I think the health district's regulations include these things, but I think they have decided that they don't want to dedicate resources to this particular type of public accommodations. And if they're not going to require a permit under their regulations, it makes no sense for us to put it in.
Right. So therefore,
We
do we
would
delete
strike
or
it.
strike?
We can strike it.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. Is there anyone else wishing to speak?
Yes, I do.
Please come forward and state your name.
We'll move back.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
My name is Jewel Dixon, and I live at 612 Gamble Drive, and I'm right next door to the biggest party house in Las Vegas. And I would like to hand you out 2 copies each of this thing.
Okay. If you happen to, discuss and also before you move forward and speak, and you've got a seat, sir.
All right.
Have a seat. I did have some follow-up questions because you all are representing 2 different companies, correct? And that,
We're the Vegas Vacation Rental Association. So, they have an independent company, yes.
okay.
But we're the Association of Short-Term Rentals.
Okay, so you're the association, so you all are part of the association.
Yes.
How many homes, being that you're part of the association, you should know this, I would assume, how many homes do you manage within the city of Las Vegas proper? Excluding, of course, the county and Henderson and North Las Vegas. How many in the city of Las Vegas proper?
Well,
Go ahead.
we don't have 100% membership for the city, but based upon...
Come forward in there, please. I'm sorry, I forgot, I had a note here to ask that question before we get started.
Okay.
And then, go ahead.
We don't have 100% membership for the people in the city of Las Vegas, and it's hard for us to determine who is a short-term and a longer-term, meaning more than 31 days. But based upon the advertisements in VRBO and HomeAway, my best estimate is around 150 houses in the city. There's approximately 700 to 800 advertised in Clark County
Right.
as a whole, between Henderson, Boulder City, Clark County,
Right.
the city, and North Las Vegas.
So, and I'm not holding you to the number, but I was just wondering how many within the city of Las Vegas proper, an approximate number. So you're
Yeah.
saying a little bit over 100.
I would say maybe 150, and those, I'm going to say are short-term rentals. There's longer-term rentals also, but again, I suggest that when we go forward, if the city requires a business license number put on the advertisement, code enforcement will know who is a long-term renter and a short-term rental.
And we'll get to that. Thank you, I appreciate it. My apologies.
That's okay.
Your name again for the record.
My name is Joel Dixon. I live at 612 Campbell Drive. 612 Campbell Drive. Right next to the 616 Campbell Drive party house that's been going on for 3 years. And we've been here kicking the can down the road and a dog down the road. We've got no relief. This is a typical thing that happens just recently. I was out of town during this period of time, but my neighbor Bob Rubin wrote this article here. I gave it to you, and with your permission, I'd just like to read it briefly. After almost a year, this revised bill is almost the same as the one we had made input at all the meetings. The added one here for action by property manager means the neighbor have to tolerate the disturbance for another hour at least. In other words, you got to wait till you call the manager, and the manager shows up and say, "Okay, folks, now you got to calm down. It's 12:30 at night. You know, we can't have the disc jockey going anymore, and we can't have all this noise going." And meanwhile, we're up all night long, and the cops don't respond. This guy responds. What happens then? What happens then? He shows up and he does it 20 times. What happens? The question remains, after a majority of the members admitted they would not want a party house next door to him. I think I asked each one of you guys, how many of you would like a party house next door to you? Not a one of you raised your hand. And yet you're here voting for a party house right next door to us. Why is such an ordinance even being considered is what I can't understand. It seems that the overdriving economic interest of the more voters here and people that want to collect more money for a short-term rental outweighs the interest of people that have bought an R1 residence that wants to have peace and tranquility. And who owns these establishments? I don't know. And an article in the RJ here, which I gave you here, points up to the problems of the party houses. And it's right here on this thing. Each one of you have a list of it. And it's a perpetual problem. Across the street from us is an empty 6,000 square foot house. We don't know who owns it. Can the owners rent the house for weekends like a hotel? Different people for weekends like... Different people come and go all of the time. We have a nice family neighborhood, and I do not like the situation. Should I contact the association? Is this legal, or am I wasting my time? You should contact your association is the answer here. Most government documents prohibit the renting of a home for fewer than 30 days. If you refer to your covenants, you will probably find a minimum lease period requirement from your association ranging from 6 months to 12 months. The association can write a courtesy letter that the homeowner is in violation of the governing documents and could fine the homeowner for continued violations upon proper hearing notice. Also, Nevada revised statute 116.340 prohibit transient commercial use unless the governing document allows for such a short-term period. Transient commercial use is defined as the use of a unit for remuneration as a hotel, hostel, hotel, inn, motel, resort, vacation rental, or other form of transient lodging. If the term of the occupancy, possession, or use of the unit is for less than 30 consecutive calendar days, some readers may remember a series of Las Vegas Review Journal articles about the Clark County Commission's consideration of passing an ordinance known as the Party House. The ordinance that was passed can be found under the Clark County Code, Section 30.44.010, which clearly identifies the prohibited use of transit, commercial use, or residential development. Please also note that Clark County Code Section 30.08 defines transient not by the full length of a corporate lease agreement, by the length of the time any tenant is allowed to use the leasehold premises, wherein it states a person who utilizes accommodations for a period of 30 consecutive calendar days or less. Don't count too much on the county to help you resolve this code violation. For more than 18 months, one of my associations have been communicating with the county providing documents. Some readers may remember a series of Las Vegas Review-Journal articles about the county commission's consideration of passing an ordinance known as the Party House. The ordinance that was passed can be found, and which clearly identifies the prohibited use of transit commercial use of residential development. The staff members have received copies of internet advertising offering the homes for short-term rentals, security logs that show that guests were coming in and out of the home, and 2 short-term leases where the homeowner was renting just the bedrooms. None of this information could prompt the county to act. My association president and vice president even met with our county commissioner to discuss the violation of both county code and of our government documents. Unfortunately, to no avail. For whatever reason, we have an ordinance on the books that can't be enforced. You and the association will hear the brunt of enforcing their government document. The association may wish to use legal counsel. That's just one of the things that appeared in the article here. And Bob Rubin, by the way, is 83 years old, has shingles, and doesn't need this kind of stuff, and he couldn't show up here today.
Thank you so very much.
Just a moment, please. But what I have personally to say about this is this proposed ordinance will provide no relief whatsoever to people like us. We still got the Party House going full blast, 12 p.m., 1 a.m., all throughout the morning, and I'm talking about the early morning hours. Who enforces this number of people there at night? No one. There's no such thing as control. After certain hours, such as two people per bed, or 1.5 times the nighttime occupancy to limit the people there, it don't exist. Who enforces it? Nobody. These are unenforceable. Those are just a joke. Owners won't enforce, managers won't enforce, cops won't enforce, the city offices are closed on weekends. Who enforces the parking regulation? 1 hour is a joke. Even if you, for a manager to get there, even if you're lucky enough to find one. We live next door. What are we supposed to do? Stay up all night waiting for someone to respond? What if the manager responds 20 times a month within 1 hour? Is that the way we are supposed to enjoy our R1 residents? Do you call our short-term rentals several times a month where you live? Is a disc jockey yelling in a mic at 12:50 at night something you would like to choose have next door to you? How about 1:30 in the morning when the manager finally gets there? Has a permit ever been revoked? Who revoked Pete Anello's license? Nobody. What's on record? How many 311s, how many Pete Anellos do we have here in town? Who keeps track? Nobody watches anybody. This proposed ordinance is a joke. You're just wasting our time and the taxpayers' time. If you are going to let them run it like a motel, regulate it like a motel. That means cops, response, and court action and denials of license. Get some teeth in something. Live up to your responsibility. That's all I have to say.
So you're in essence satisfied with anything if there's no enforcement? Really doesn't matter. Is that correct?
There's no enforcement.
Okay,
No,
I
sir.
just want to make sure I get that.
No, there's none.
So what are the rules again on the on noise, Val? And I don't know if you have the answers, but Karen's also here too. But once again, what's the noise ordinance in an R1 area? Assuming it's not exempted or it's not next to it is at the very end.
It's just a proof problem of disturbing somebody. There's not a decibel level.
And so, what's the hour of the evening that we,
I believe it's 10 o'clock. I don't remember
on
exactly.
weekdays?
Yes.
And maybe what, different on the weekends?
Maybe midnight on weekends, I'm not sure.
Okay, and whose duty is it to enforce?
Metro.
Metro.
You may get Metro out, you may not. Depends on what Metro's doing.
His answers from the legal staff.
Okay.
So, what do we do then? Well, if we can't enforce a bill, no matter what, then what's the use of having a bill? If we can't get it done by Metro, we have to pass a resolution directing Metro to enforce.
Well, part of
it for us, because our share of the money paying for Metro is not being spent right. What do we do?
Under our existing ordinance, the only regulations we had were regarding, other than the revenue part of it, were zoning.
Yeah.
And zoning has code enforcement officers, but really the only remedy up until now has been in court, and those have varying degrees of success, but most likely none.
Well, our new bill.
One of the things this bill does, it now requires a business license, which it hasn't before. You had to get a zoning permit, but this requires a business license. It triggers all of the remedies that are available for all business licenses, which include not only the use of Metro, but code enforcement, licensing officers, civil penalties that are available. It still requires enforcement. There's no way around that.
So our code enforcement officers could also do the job that Metro could do.
Much of the job,
Well, we
yes.
have 2 people working on the weekend in the entire city, last count.
There are some things that our code enforcement people would not want to do. They would not want to go out when they would not want to be on site when there might be confrontation or violence. But most of the things could be enforced by our code enforcement people and our licensing officers.
Civil matters.
Yeah, and we won't know how this works until we adopt it, and it may not work, but it's an effort to do something different than what we've done up
Yeah,
until
and
now.
the chairman reminded me that we have 2 code people for the entire city of 600,000 on the weekends. They're not working at midnight, probably. So, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Ladies.
Patricia M. Flick, 612 Campbell Drive. Thank you for allowing me to speak, recommending committee. I've spoke to you before. This has been going on since Nigel Burton from Washington bought the place in April 2011. Short time after that, I've been pursuing it with the council, with the neighbors, ongoing code enforcement. I was told to keep pictures and to make notes. I've got over 4 of these. There's 100 photos in each one, so I'm talking about 4+. I have this file of notes that has gone on, who I've called, who's been there, what's going on. I have a couple rentals myself. I have one in the Las Vegas Country Club since 1987. I rent it minimum 1 year. I've rented it as long as 9 years. I have a place in Salt Lake City that I've had the last 3 years. I rent it minimum of 1 year. Usually they're students at the University of Utah. They rent it 2 to 3 years until they graduate. I'm not the enforcer. I'm 75. Mr. Dixon's 80. You're asking me to enforce it. It's not something I like to do. I'm not getting any assistance whatsoever. Even in the city, they tell me to do one thing. Licensing department says, oh no, you call Mr. Anello. Does anyone look at his records? The last time he was present, early on, I believe it was November, he said, I didn't get any messages from Miss Flip. I have it noted. So who's looking at his notes every time I call? What's the use of calling Mr. Anello? You call 311, you now get a number. That is something that's reported. This is proof. This is proof. What more does it take? I don't know how much longer we have here. but that's our residence until we pass. Let's do something. Let's have action. And the biggest thing, yes, is enforcement. I've read the Newport News article in California. They share enforcement with the local police department. I go every first Tuesday. I'm Campbell block captain. I've worked search and rescue. I've been a branch manager over 32 and a half years. I've been in California, I've been in Las Vegas. I've dealt with a lot of things in my lifetime. All we're asking is for a little assistance, and it's going on and on and on. How much longer do we have to have? It's not just me, it's the neighbors. That's a nice area. Equestrian Estates, a little bit of old Las Vegas. Look what you're turning it into. It is a party house. If you want to come and visit, you want to come and spend the night, I have extra bedrooms. Both my house and the next house were built the same time, the same contractor. So it's very familiar. We bought it, and we've improved it. They bought that, or at least Nigel Burton bought it, in April. He really improved it. Starting June, we started renting, 2011. So please, let's do something. Let's not just send it back and forth to the attorney's office. If the attorneys can't do it, then let's get somebody out on the outside and do it. Let's do something about it. Share the authority. Code enforcement's been good, but however, they're not there late at night. Chamber isn't there late at night, actually Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, so who do I call? Mr. Anello? Yes, I've responded with him. We've had walk-arounds. I've shared things with him. I told him, made suggestions how he's wasting money. I've made suggestions how he can improve his property. He's an okay guy. But Mr. Dixon asked him out in the lobby, would you like a party house next to you? Just like your response, no. So, thank you for this opportunity again. Let's get some action.
Thank you, Ms. Patricia. Yes.
How many citations have they gotten, I would say, in the last couple of years? How many times, though, has somebody, surely there's been a citation of some kind by Metro?
As far as I know, zero. They go and talk to him. They have no authority. They meet him outside.
Well, there are noise ordinances, in effect. So we have that. I mean, that's the thing. It's not being enforced. That's another thing.
There's not
But
a
I don't
follow-up
know
of it.
how many times they've been reported. You've got a number of times, correct?
I have where I was at the first Tuesday morning.
You've got a file.
Yeah.
Oh.
And it says how many times
Yes.
they've been reported to Metro.
Yes.
And if we were to ask Metro for the data, maybe
Yes.
we would also get something similar from them.
Yes.
Calls for service.
You know, I want to see the calls for service on that street, and I tell you what, they should. There's two names being involved. Is Abiello the local representative?
He's the management company of Crystal Properties, Inc. They rent all over the
And is he a
state.
licensed property manager?
Yes.
Yes, I went to the county and had
So
it
he's
pulled.
one of the people that would be theoretically
He is the
be required to
person.
have that license if this bill passes. He's already
Yes.
got it.
He now has a sign out in front. It was taken down for several weeks. I called him upon it because some of the neighbors wanted to call him. It is now back up. He has a sign out in front on the gate. On the
And
fence.
Burton is the owner?
Nigel Burton. He lives on some island off of Washington State.
Okay. Cool. Okay.
Yes.
I'm getting hot. Because I've heard this before. I've heard this. Mr. Chairman, I've heard this. It's just, I can't believe it.
Hold on a second, Ms. Dixon. Yes, ma'am.
Are they all done? I can speak now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. My name's Karen Summer. I've been following this for almost a year. I really appreciate the comments from everybody because then I can bring up some other issues, but I ditto everything that everybody said. As an owner of rental properties, I don't understand why this gentleman that owns the house next to them would want to rent to these kind of people. None of us want to do that. We do not allow party houses in our properties. And I really feel that this property is an exception. If you pull the calls for service, if there is a code for neighborhood disturbances, I don't think you're going to find that this is rampant. This particular person, his permit should have been pulled by the business department a long time ago. It's not being enforced. And you have had that authority to pull it because, yes, you are requiring a bigger, more complicated license now, but you've always required a license to do this. This isn't a new ordinance. This is a revision of an existing short-term rental ordinance that is already on the books and it has not been enforced. They have had numerous complaints on this one gentleman, and nothing has been done. And that's sad because the whole reason that this was brought back up again, that Councilwoman Tarkanian has brought this back up, was because of this one incident, mainly, I'm not going to speak for her, but because of this one incident that has been brought to you so many times. The new ordinance, it was filled with all these other complicated rules, the public health accommodations. I'm the one that brought that to the health department and said, how are you going to enforce this? The pools aren't built for commercial use, so they could not do it. So that's the reason, thank goodness, that they came and spoke. We've got to take that out. Now we've got all kinds of fire codes in there. We all have fire codes for our homes already. We really don't need an engraved plastic plaque telling somebody how to get out of a home. All of the homes have to meet certain code requirements. How do you draw a map telling somebody to go out a bedroom window that was sized according to the fire code to allow emergency access? This isn't a hotel where you have to tell somebody, go out the hall and turn right and go down some steps. These fire codes, all of these new things that were put into this ordinance that was brought before you to address party houses, it doesn't address party houses at all. Not at all. And instead, it's got all of these bureaucratic rules about the licensed property manager. We've heard about this wonderful licensed property manager. He's no good. How about us that own the properties, taking care of our own property, being able to respond 24/7, kicking those people out of our homes? These are expensive homes. People don't want to rent a dump. They're going to go, I'm sorry to knock this down, but budget suites. If they need a 2-bedroom little suite with a kitchen, that's where they're going to go. They're not going to come to our beautiful homes that are decorated. We've put thousands and thousands of dollars in these homes. We do not want bad people. We check these people out. If they have parties, they're gone. We kick them out. Also, I was working with the Vacation Rentals Association when they initially brought this up, but I stopped because their concerns are primarily with the county. And I understand that. I think we should all be on the same page, city and county. I have offered to have the meetings in the city to get all of us property owners together, and that has been denied. If we go forward, I'm going to be starting my own Vegas Landlord Association or something to address this with the city owners. We are not going to travel down to here to Annette Fiella's house, 15-mile round trip.
Let me stop you there.
Okay.
Let me stop
So,
you there.
yes.
Because that has absolutely nothing to do with
Well, no,
it.
I'm just saying that we need to concentrate on the city.
I understand that, Karen. Just focus on the
Okay,
today.
all right. Well, the other thing is we want to get more people together. Owners, the education process is very important. We don't want to go through all this process and all this expense of getting all the licenses and then have all these other people that are up here not go through the process and not have it enforced. We want to we want to contact all of these people, but it is important for you to see the difference. There's not that many in the city right now. We think we can expand it if we do educate people in the right process. There are other people that want to do this and they're holding off until this ordinance gets approved. I would like to mention also that my husband and I were the ones that drafted the loud and unruly ordinance and gave it to the business department. We met with them several times. We have not heard anything about this ordinance going forward. We were guaranteed that we would be kept in the circle. We haven't. The only reason that I'm here today is because I've been following it myself, and I'm very disappointed in that. I'm very disappointed in the business department that we spent the time to do the research with Newport. We took theirs, we drafted it to Las Vegas standards, and we're not part of the circle. We don't know why. We really don't know why. Councilman Claflin stated, this is a service, and that's true. Annette said it. This is a service to people that don't want to stay in a hotel. There are people, I recently brought my little grandson downtown, and I won't tell you what he saw, but it was embarrassing. And families don't want that. They want to have a family reunion with 5, 6, 7, 8 bedrooms. It doesn't matter. The bigger the better, actually, for this. And this limit of 5 bedrooms makes no sense. If you're going to review a property, you'll have that opportunity to address it. But people want to rent mansions. It's on Home and Garden TV. They had 3 beautiful homes in Las Vegas, and everybody was talking about it. It was great publicity for us. Rent a mansion in Las Vegas. And the parents can stay, have their family dinners and everything else, but then they can go downtown or they can go on the Strip and they can have their adult fun, and the kids can stay home with the grandmother or whatever.
As it relates to the ordinance before us.
Okay, well, I'm sorry. It seems like you're letting everybody else talk a lot.
No, you're straying. Everyone else stayed to the point. You're straying, so I'm trying to pull you back.
Well, there's a lot of issues here.
I understand, but just stay on topic and we're good.
Okay, well, the ordinance that is
But you're not going to
presented...
filibuster my meeting. I'm going to let you know that.
No. The ordinance that's written is no good.
Okay.
It only added fire codes, health codes, no enforcement, no teeth, which is why we brought it back. We've got to have teeth to these ordinances. The police have to work with the business department. It's just been, right now it seems like a waste of our time for the past year.
Okay. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I just want to let you know that you're straying and you're talking about...
Well, these are all important points that you need to consider.
All the important parts we have captured, and I appreciate you coming to the meeting. Thank you. Councilwoman.
Can I talk?
I'll have to leave. I guess, is that correct, that even though we are not deliberating, we are gathering testimony that we cannot have a majority present?
We don't want to invite an open meeting law complaint, so that's why we ask.
I'm ready for the complaint.
Well, I know, but we aren't.
I don't think it's right, but that's all right.
If you'd like to sit down...
Before the councilwoman speaks, Val, and this is a sidetracking, something that I want to speak to you about also, as far as submitting a request possibly to the ethics board just to get their opinion as to how this works, because a number of us feel the same way as a councilman, and so maybe you could help us draft something that we can ask for a formal recommendation as to how we should act accordingly as it relates to the recommending and ordinances that are drafted by council members individually, but the council members not having an opportunity to come and testify on their own bill. But I would like to follow up with you on that matter.
I will follow legal counsel's advice right now because I think you've asked a good question and we need to find out. Hell, there might be case law on it already,
right?
But I need to know that.
Okay.
I got to say that I think we should be having a show cause hearing to jerk that person's business license that owns that house on Cash.
It's not agendized, so I'm going to have to
That's
ask
just what
you
I'm
to step
saying.
out of the room, sir.
I'm just saying.
Now you're straying. Okay. Councilman, give the councilman a moment to step out of the room.
Yeah, give me a moment.
And allow the record to reflect that Councilman Coffin is departing the room in order for there not to be an possible open meeting violation. At this time, Councilwoman, you have the floor. Section 8 for
I
the record.
just did want to mention.
Section 8 for the record.
Lois Carpini, Councilwoman Ward 1. I wanted to state for the record, and when Mrs. Summer spoke, that when you came to us and you gave us ideas, we took those ideas, and I met with Val, Steve, and with Val, we did suggest the change as far as the health department. Not because we didn't feel the health department had a responsibility there. I'm on that health board, so I know, but also because we also really don't have the resources, so that was an elimination. And I do believe in that you told me that you didn't have any.
No, Councilwoman, if you don't mind, please.
Yeah.
If you will just focus your comments to the body.
Oh, you don't want me to focus to anybody else? Did you hear the comments?
Well, I'm saying speak to
right.
us
And then
as it
I
relates
think
to
so. Okay, I can do
the
that.
issues that were brought forward from those who
I'm
came
just
forward
trying
and
to
spoke.
clarify a background.
No, that's all I'm saying is you clarify to the body, if you will.
Okay, I
Thank you.
perhaps should have started with the background, but I wanted to clear up a couple of things. And that was, Ms. Summers did say, and I believe Annette had said that she doesn't have rentals in the city. She represents the county primarily. I'd like to tell you that I've had probably 4.5 to 5 years working with short-term rentals. And that's because these very problems that the two, did I turn my head slightly that way? That these two individual.
All I'm saying, in order for me to run the meeting efficiently, I want to make sure that you're communicating to the body so that we're not having dialogue back and forth in the audience.
Anyway, these, they were there at the time. We had up to 10 meetings. We had very thorough meetings. We had extremely well-attended meetings. These meetings had many people there that are similar to the individuals who are here. Some may be duplications of being there. At that time, these people who had short-term rentals came and they said, you know, you don't need to have anything now because the city at that time was just like the county, where there was no regulation on short-term rentals. And because of all the problems that were occurring, and I would have to disagree that this is a unique case, because maybe it's because I have all these nice homes in certain areas of my ward, but I've had these cases come up over and over and over again, and I've had them come at different residences than this. In fact, one time the police had to send a sting, and we were able to get somebody that was very close to where Ward 2 begins. But in any case, we had all these meetings, and all of the people there that had short-term rentals said that they would help, and they gave us suggestions, so we made our first short-term rental bill. And guess what? We said, and that was because I felt the bill should be stronger. Steve Wilson said it should be a little looser. So we went along with Steve's way, and we had people who came, and they wanted to tell us that there weren't any problems, that they would handle the whole thing, and they would be glad to pay a license fee, they would be glad to do what you have to do if you have a little place to do the strip or something. They agreed to all of that. So we reevaluated at the end of 2 years, and only one of all of the short-term rental people did nothing. Didn't get a license, didn't get anything. After all the work that we did, up to 10 meetings, and what Steve and I did ourselves. So, in the meantime, the questions that are coming out from the people on Campbell and from other places are getting worse and getting worse. And they're saying to me, what are you going to do about it? So we tried to do something about it. And I shared with Karen Duddleston the information on the Newport Beach rules and regulations, and she has assured me that those were looked into and incorporated wherever they could be within the current ordinance that we have. And I could also say that maybe this ordinance won't work. I don't know. All I know is up to now, nothing we have had has worked. Up to now, nothing the county has had has worked. Up to now, and given many, many years, the 4.5 years, I consider the short-term rental people do nothing until it comes time that we're going to make it a stronger ordinance. I think this is a stronger ordinance because it gives us a chance to control more, and people might think, well, that's bureaucratic. But if you have to be bureaucratic so that you think of the people who live there, for God's sakes, these are residential areas. Residential areas. And as the county considers it now, Chris G. said in the paper recently, we keep forgetting that. It's not a short-term rental area. It's not a business area. Every place these people are residential areas where people bought their houses sometimes 30, 40 years ago, who now want to live what they thought they could live in without business around it. And we have business going around. And it's not, you know, if you want to know what they have, I guess you probably don't want me to go into any specifics. About a child on the second floor in her bedroom, just looking out the window and seeing sex occurring between a man and a woman in a short-term rental. About code enforcement going out, and it happened to one lady that was with code enforcement at that time, was at the door, and she opens up to a room full of naked men. You know, these are things that our code enforcement has tried to work with, But don't say that the nuisance bill will be able to handle it, or don't say that, well, if we knock a little out of this, it will handle it. It doesn't handle it. We have not enforced through our nuisance bill, and probably it's because the police are so worried. When they have time, and they do try and help us. I want you just to consider this. Number one, we are talking about residential areas. Number two, this is not an isolated case, and if you want to, you can go through records we have. And number three, that what would come with the nuisance is not going to be able to be followed through as strongly as needed to be because the police just don't have the time. And number four, I never requested to have these as complementary bills because we've tried the nuisance before. It didn't work. This is a bill that stands on its own. This is a bill that is there to protect the people who have a residence, and we always tell them we want to protect the citizens. Well, this is what they're asking. And I'd answer any questions you have.
Okay. I would just like to make one clarification. It was never suggested, and if it was, I apologize, that the two bills, the bill before today and the nuisance bill, was upon your request. It was upon my request.
Oh, I know that, yes.
To have the two bills meet today at this recommending body in order that we can hear them all and have that discussion in totality at one meeting versus today we're having the discussion as relates to the requirements and regulations, and at the next recommending meeting we're going to be talking about the nuisance and the noise and the other issues that come as relates to your concern and the residents'
Well,
concern.
other concerns.
So all I was suggesting and recommending to the body, which we direct the staff to, however, to throw the attorney's office under the bus again, it never made it in time in order to make this agenda. So therefore, we're ultimately will have another bite at the apple to talk about exactly a number of the enforcement issues that you brought forward, the regulations on the R1 properties, as well as the nuisance.
Well, Councilor
Right.
Barlow, I understand that. I did not mean to imply that you had ever said that I had asked them as complimentary bills. They ended up as complimentary bills because they came up about at the same time.
Yeah.
Please understand that what is needed to get a handle on something where nothing has had a handle on it before is a much tougher situation than our nuisance one, where we have had a looseness in being able to accommodate that. I think that's a very critical thing. And I just want to say, when this lady says, and she says, when? For goodness sakes, 4.5 years, over a year now with this, and all the delays that have been requested, as far as I can recall, have been requested by the short-term rental agency. And I have felt that was okay. But now we come to a time as how much longer can I look at people that I represent and say to them, hey, you know what, we can't get it done in the city.
Well, I can say this from a timing perspective. What we try to avoid as a body, as a recommending body, hearing this in piecemeal, if you will, the nuisance matter that will be coming before this body on August 18th, as well as the September 3rd City Council. We wanted to basically take it as a package so that we could deliver it to the council. But ultimately, we can't do that now. So as far as the nuisance component, August 18th, we'll be hearing that ordinance come before us. To have this conversation, to have the good folks here come back to talk about that again, possibly even more. And so what we didn't want to do as a body was basically send a piecemeal ordinance to the full body of the council. But we have no choice but to do that today, just shy of taking the recommendation of the city clerk as far as delaying this matter.
But you don't have to delay.
I understand that. I'm just saying, let me rephrase the delay. Or let me define what I mean by delay. we can move this item forward today, right? And with that, without setting a date for city council, then we can also give us an opportunity to hear the nuisance ordinance that will be coming before us on the 18th, and then put a date stamp for the bill before us today, as well as the nuisance to be heard on the September 3rd city council, so that we're not talking in two different meetings, an August city council meeting and a September city council meeting, talking about one ordinance.
No,
Does that?
can I talk now?
Yes, ma'am. Does that make sense? Or
No, I see no problem in
Okay.
hearing these two items at the same time at a council meeting.
Okay.
I see no problem in
Okay.
that. What I see a problem is delaying passing this through, because, we gotta wait for the other one to come through. I'm just tired of the delays. I think the people are tired
I
of
agree.
delays.
I can agree
So
more.
that's all I'm saying is, if we could just move this through,
ma'am.
and then if you want to hear the other two, you can have any questions come up at that time at a council meeting.
Got it.
Do I really?
Yes, ma'am.
I just, I feel so strongly.
I know you do. You've been working very hard on it, and
I know so much about this.
Yeah.
I mean, every single thing someone brought up, I've already covered it, we've already investigated it. And you know something, it's time now that we pay attention to those people who have lived a long time in these areas, and they deserve something too.
And in closing, you don't have to be in a party house to be on your second floor patio to look out next door and see things take place in the neighbor's yard.
I don't know where you're living, I hope you're not doing
Thank
Okay.
you, Councilman.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak on this item? So please come forward and state your name for the record.
George Graham. I kind of
If you don't mind, Mr. Graham. Thank you, sir.
reiterate what you just said. Nobody's to stop me from going to this person's neighbor's house, renting it for a year, and having people come and have parties every weekend and paying customers on a regular basis. And I'm really surprised that 311 doesn't work, because it works for me on a regular basis with a house behind me with music, playing band, and it was going on for a long, long time. Drunks taking out fences, mailboxes. 311 works for me. It did every time I called. I met with the officer. They came, they stopped whatever was going on, and that was that. So I think it seems like to me you're layering ordinances. There's already ordinances in place to take care of all of this stuff that you're addressing today, except maybe the ordinances for the short-term rentals. And I'm not opposed to having, rules and regulations for short-term rentals, but I think some of them are going a little over the top. But at the end of the day, you're not going to stop me from having a party at my house, my personal residence, on a regular basis. You could. I mean, you'll send Metro out, noise, time frames, 10 o'clock during the week and whatever it is on the weekends. Yeah, you'll stop me from doing that, but nothing's really set in place to say that I can't have that on a regular basis. I could have a wedding reception at my house if I want to. All of the things that you're trying to regulate, there's probably ordinances already in place, so to speak, in the city and the county to prevent all of that sort of stuff. And you're putting new ordinances on top of ordinances, and I think it's a bit redundant. But
The layers of bureaucracy.
okay, and but at the end of the day, you probably need to address the individual that owns that property. And I've got to say, they're isolated incidences out of the 700 homes that are in the valley. I'm not saying that there aren't party houses out there, but all the responsible homeowners for their properties, I'm going to reiterate what the lady said before me. Everybody takes charge of their own property. And if you have a realtor come out and say, hey, I require a realtor to manage that property, they're not going to care. That's not a personal, thing for them. They are going to do it half-heartedly at best, I'm guessing. And to get a hold of a realtor in the middle of the night, I get cell phone messages 2 days later sometimes on my cell phone. So to require a 1 hour, not everybody has landlines nowadays. Sometimes my cell phone doesn't ring in my house, and I get a message 2 days later or a day later or whatever. But my point is the majority of the owners of vacation rentals, I think most everybody manages their own properties themselves. They screen everybody. I'm going to, kind of say the same thing that everybody else is saying, but and I feel for these people because I've had it right behind me, and it's not a party house at all. It's just a regular residence, and I don't like it at midnight. And but I call 311 and it works. So enough said.
Thank you, Mr. Grant.
Yep.
Harry, at this time, I'll have to summons Councilman Kaufman back into the room. Tell him it's time for him to get back to work. It's time for him to get back to work, Councilman. Long enough break. Smoke break.
Thank you. Where are we, Mr. Chairman?
The same.
What can I say?
The same agenda we were on.
Well, I don't know what we were doing hardly. I mean, I lost my train of thought because of the law.
It'll come up to you. We have some medical marijuana conversations that we can help with. Is there anyone else from the audience wishing to speak on this item? I'm sorry? I'm sorry? Is there anyone else from the audience wishing to speak on this item? I'll give you 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to go over a couple little things since I've heard the comments. Again, all short-term rentals are not party houses, but we get blamed. When code enforcement was asked about the number of party houses from Karen Duddleson or people investigating, they were not able to offer us a number. The proposed short-term rental ordinance and the new nuisance ordinance, they offer fines. They put teeth into Metro to go out, show up. They can disband the party house. They can also write a notice of violation, which incurs a $250 fine for the first instance and $500 after that.
To who?
To each person at the party.
Not the
owner, not the manager,
not
to the
manager,
attendees
to
in the party.
attendees of the party.
Okay. And Peter Anello, in February or March, his license was renewed. And I just about blew a gasket. And I was like, how could he do that? Okay, so that's just for your information. It was renewed for another year. When the new ordinance goes into effect, he will be subject to all these restrictions and be in a compliance. And I can really appreciate what Pat's going through and some other party houses that Lois spoke of. But there are hundreds of thousands of guests who come to Vegas every year that are not represented here today, that have a great time with their families and their constituents and the NBA players and the poker players and everybody that respects houses, and they don't have a voice in this conversation today. And that's all.
Thank you.
30 seconds.
Thank you. $20 a second.
You know my rights.
30 seconds.
You know,
I'll give you
just real quick. We've heard in the room a lot of people have differences. These ladies and gentlemen, they're against short-term rentals. We heard from my friend Karen and Annette. They're in the business. They have their differences. But the one thing that everybody from the public who spoke agreed upon is they don't like this ordinance. They thought it would do no good whatsoever. Karen and Annette felt it wasn't the right ordinance, and that's all I'm trying to say. Everybody here from the public is against this particular ordinance. It needs to be worked on further.
Thank you. Thank you. We're going to come to, is it Patricia?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to come to Patricia, and then I'll close public comment and we'll deliberate.
Just to state, we're not against short-term rentals. We are against party houses. Why can't we separate the two? Why can't we have something for party houses? We're not against short-term rentals. We are against party houses that we've had to live with over 3 years.
Thank you, Ms. Patricia. At this time, public comment will be closed, and at this point, there will be deliberation amongst the council members. Councilman Clark.
Well, I am the provocateur that's caused this bill, and, maybe much ado about nothing, but I'm sure he's probably not the only sinner out there. The thing is that I understood that with all the complaints we've had about this owner and manager that operate, is it 616?
Yes, sir.
Campbell Drive.
616.
A lovely neighborhood. Almost as nice as my street. I tell you, I think that...
If I have to rent to a party house, can I come over and buy one next to you?
I think, I'm kidding here. I think, Mr. Chairman, we ought to consider bringing to the full council the question, and with our staff's help here, finding out whether that person should have a license. That person, it seems to me with these repeated comments, if Metro backs us up and says there is something, yes, all these complaints have occurred and we haven't done anything, then we need to consider, in cooperation with our staff at Metro, creating a hearing to show cause whether or not that license should be revoked. And I would bow to the councilwoman whose district it is as to whether or not we reach that point, because personally, I think we have, but I can't speak for the committee, and I cannot make a decision without having heard from Metro and our licensing people. But that's really something that's it's aside from the bill, but it is the reason for the bill, and it is the reason for the next bill on unruly. And so I think they all ought to be combined. I think you're right. I think that was something that I didn't even think about before. So before we have a motion, as I just want to say, I would support combining the two bills and bringing them forward together.
Okay. I do want to say to Annette and Jewel and Patricia and Karen and George, I believe Graham. Or you're Mr. Graham, right?
Yes, sir.
Was it George?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you all very much for your comments here today. The issue is a very important issue, as you all very well know, from the residential side, but of course from the business perspective as well, as far as the business models that have basically been created organically from, as I believe Karen shared, as far as the promotion of what Las Vegas is to the outside world, the various opportunities that exist from a residential standpoint. And for that, it's very difficult and challenging at the same time for a public body to take the request from the residents and, of course, the local representative, Councilwoman Lois Sarkanian, to bring this issue forward, to create an opportunity to where the residents will have an opportunity to continue to enjoy their quality of life in the neighborhood, as we all should, and at the same time allowing business to do what it does, and that's turn profits. However, when the two collide, that's where the issues arise and basically float to the top. And so therefore, it's left to a governmental body to make a determination how, in fact, we're going to at least get the needle as close to the middle, if not dead center, as possible. And that's what's the onus we're under today. And so for that, this is a democracy, and this is open government, and decisions that we make some people happy. Decisions that we make some people angry, and all we can say is that the decisions that we make, we try to do our very best in order that both sides have somewhat of a win-win situation. Our city clerk has come before the body with two recommendations. The first recommendation is for this item to be abated until the August 18th recommending board. Therefore, we will have an opportunity to hear this item again, but an additional ordinance that will be coming forward to talk about something in the area of nuisance. Right? The second option would be to move this item forward which will give the body an opportunity to hear the nuisance on the 18th as well, without having this item on the agenda. And the two of them will then be moved forward from the 18th to the September 3rd City Council meeting, where we will have an opportunity to have both ordinances, the one we're hearing today and the one that we'll hear on the 18th, all at one time on September 3rd, Wednesday, September 3rd. So, having heard that, I will take a recommendation from one of the board members as to their desire. We will take a vote, and depending on how that vote goes, then we will, I will instruct you further as to which option will basically be coming up next as far as what day. So, there's a motion from Mayor Pro Tem.
I'll make a motion to obey this item till the next recommending committee, so we can hear both ordinances together.
And so will that be August 18th?
Yep.
Okay. There is a motion on the floor. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Aye. So allow the record to reflect that there are 2 yeas, 1 nay. This item has been obeyed until the August 18th recommending board, right back in this room at 10 o'clock. At 10 o'clock. And so therefore, you will have an opportunity to once again speak on this item, as well as the new ordinance that will be coming forward on August 18th, that I understand from the legal department is ready to go. It will be read into the record on Wednesday of this week, 2 days from now. I believe it's item 53 on the agenda, and it will be read into the record. And so therefore, there will be 2 ordinances, ladies and gentlemen, on the August 18th recommended meeting back in this room at 10 a.m. So having said that, we'll move on to the last line item of business, which is citizens' participation. Anyone from the public wishing to speak under citizens' participation may come forward and share any thoughts, comments, or questions that you may have at this time. Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion. All in favor? So moved. Thank you all.